And we're live. I know Scott and Stefan have already been sort of hanging around waiting for us.
Yeah, I know. It was me.
I don't know if they're still there, but
they've got border waiting for me. That's it. Just gone.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah.
So, BTS cancelled.
Is it? I haven't heard the news yet.
Yeah. They've. Evening, Tyler.
Hey, Tyler.
Yeah, they've actually now put up a post, and obviously I saw it on Adam's. Adam posted it, the Invertebrarian.
Okay.
He posted something on his wall, and basically it was what they wrote out and said that they're now cancelling it till the 22nd of May next year.
Okay. That sucks.
So that gives like 10 months, 12 months or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Stefan. Hey, Scott.
Evening all. So yeah, no BTS this year, but they do have to look out for people, don't they? And like they said in the post, I mean, where they're hosting it indoors, they can only really hold 900 people.
Yeah, true.
And like they said, generally they get 2,500.
But then by the time they were supposed to be happening, restrictions should have gone back to normal by then anyway, shouldn't he? Surely.
Yeah, but there's something else
that's
coming out, or that they're worried that might come out. So rather than just keep postponing it, and even that, then they said something in the post about that there will be another update of things.
Hey,
but then
indeed.
When that update does happen, it would only give them 3 weeks to get prepped and ready for the show.
Yeah.
Which then obviously doesn't really leave them enough time, which I can understand.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. I get that. A long time no see. Not popped into one of our streams for a while. Yes, unfortunately, James has had to work again tonight.
But I do believe he is joining us at some point.
So, speaking of Lee, I don't know if you guys have seen Steve's latest upload from today.
Not yet.
Fantastic Enclosures. His latest upload today was he put out a sort of a challenge a little while ago to do like a custom plant pot hide. Steve did a really interesting sort of expanding foam coated in silicon with some coir stuck on it and all that sort of stuff. And then obviously once he'd done he'd put the challenge out to a bunch of other YouTubers to create their own flower pot hides, like customized flower pot hides. One of the people that he nominated was Lee. Lee's done his one now. Absolutely phenomenal, by the way. You have to go and check it out. I would never have thought to come up with anything like this out of a plant pot, and I've got a pretty good imagination when it comes to stuff like this. What produced out of a plastic plant pot is out of this world. So definitely head over to Steve's channel at Tarantulastic Enclosures. Check out Steve's latest upload for today because it's got Lee's submission for that custom plant pot thing. And Lee, obviously, in the spirit of nominating other people, has very kindly nominated me to take part in the challenge as well. So I will be coming up with my own take on a customized plant pot hide at some stage over the next sort of couple of weeks and firing that through to Steve. So keep your eyes on Steve's channel. Because it'll be featuring one of mine very soon, and I'm going to have to nominate 3 people to. So Haven't decided who I'm going to nominate yet. I've got a couple of ideas, but we'll save that.
I'm not sure.
Oh, it looks like my signal's dropping. Oh no, it's back up.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it is you or us. We know what our end's like sometimes.
Yeah, I think it was me. It was my end. All of a sudden, I had a picture of a Wi-Fi signal come up, which is shocking because I'm not running off of Wi-Fi. I'm running off of a hardline. Hey.
All of a sudden, it's decided that your Wi-Fi is better on wireless than not.
Yeah. So hello, Absit. Hello, Danielle or James and Danielle. Thank you for joining as always, guys. Much appreciated.
These days, you can't tell on who it is.
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Stefan's turning into Mr. Popular out there when it comes to spicy challenges and stuff.
Well, there's not generally that many people that will sit there and do 3 or 4 throughout the stream.
No, to be fair. Yeah, credit where it's due. Yeah, your V3 is on the way to you, Stefan. Like I said, I'm sorry, mate. I was a little bit under the weather for most of last week and didn't actually get it in the post for you until Friday. So I'm still not completely recovered now, but I'm better.
And I see Francis received his incubator safe and sound.
He did. Has he posted that somewhere, has he?
He basically posted a picture of it, I think, in just his members group.
See, I'm not in there.
Yeah, but so, I thought he would have, said to you that it had arrived.
Yeah, so I knew it was there. I'm not on his members group though, so yeah, unfortunately, I wouldn't have seen that. But yeah, we've been in touch anyway, just to see if I can troubleshoot any issues and stuff for him as he's had it set up. But it seems to have worked fine. He's got it all set up and running, and I've not heard anything else yet. He's doing his little bit of filming and that sort of stuff. I've got the build all filmed and ready to go, and we're planning to premiere that at the same time. So when he premieres obviously you know what he needed the incubator for, because he mentioned it to us on here. I don't know how many other people know, but he's going to premiere that video, which will include the receiving and unboxing of the incubator that I sent him and all that sort of stuff. And then I'll premiere mine at the same time. He's going to link into my video and I'm going to link into his. So I'll show all the build process and everything. Speaking of devil, Annie shall arrive.
Yeah, I was about to say
that. Hey dude, how you doing? Incubator still running all right? So yeah, looking forward to getting that out and doing this little collaboration. Yeah, so I've got a couple going on at the moment. Obviously, I've got this challenge that Lee issued out to me via Steve for this plant pot build. I've got that one coming up as well, and then I've also got I actually want some advice from you guys for this one, because if you remember 2 weeks ago on our last stream, I said that we were expecting something from the Spider Shop, and yeah. I'd already had some dramas in terms of the fact that I'd ordered a Hattie female with that, and they'd contacted us afterwards to say that even though it was available on their website, it wasn't available in their stock. Well, it turns out that wasn't the only issue with that order. That just carried on and got phenomenally worse. I have never had such a shocking order from the Spider Shop. I've done the video. It's not going to be a good review, and I'm still sort of in that, I'm in an R-in stage as to whether, I mean, don't get me wrong, I haven't slated them, and for the stuff that we did actually receive, I was happy with, but there was so much stuff that went wrong with that order process that, yeah, I was pissed off, to say the least. And I did send them a message and say, like, look, you know, this is what's happened. This is a sketch. I don't think this is, you know, it doesn't go along with your normal good quality service and that sort of stuff. To give them an opportunity to see if they were prepared, you know, I don't know, even to say sorry, mate, you know. But I haven't even received an email back from them, so I don't know whether to upload it or not. What do you reckon? Like I said, it's not absolutely ripping. It's not absolutely ripping into them. There's nothing derogatory or slanderous about it. It's just an honest review. But
that's the thing.
Not a good one.
Yeah, I mean, people do put them up because, I mean, at the end of the day, then you can see what can happen. You know, 99% of the time, everywhere that you go sort of packs, you know, pretty good and whatever else. But just that 1 out of 100 then sometimes does. I mean, just look at the one that Jaden unboxed that wasn't in the pot anymore.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, he still put his one up. And even he said he would, you know, he was a bit like, I'm unsure whether or not I should or not, but I have done.
Yeah, fair enough. There's always that little bit about me though in the background that's going, am I being a bit too much of a dick or not? But I've watched it back. You know, a couple of other people have watched it as well and gone, no, mate, it's honest. You haven't slated them. You know, it just, I've explained the process. I've explained how things have gone wrong. I've explained that, you know, it's not the best service I've ever received from them. The stuff we did actually receive, we were happy with what actually turned up. It was just that there was so much messing about through the process, and then when it actually turned up, there was still stuff missing from the order. And then only to find out afterwards that they'd shipped the order, but the day they'd shipped the order after it had shipped, they had sent an email to go, oh, by the way, we've shipped your order, but this and this are missing. But again, not contacted us beforehand to say, could we switch it out for this, you know, or whatever else. And some of the stuff that we ordered was to house the stuff that we were receiving. So potentially that we might have said, you know what, actually hold off on sending the order until you've got that in stock. The option would have been good, is all I'm saying. And like most places, you know, almost everywhere I order from, they always chuck like a little freebie or something in the box, especially if there's been an issue with the order process. They always chuck a little something in the box to say, look, here's a little gesture just to make up for the fact that we've messed you around a little bit. And I mean, this wasn't not even their usual standard of packing or anything else. It was a standard packed box, but not even a sticker, mate. Not even a Spider Shop sticker. Nothing.
That's what I mean. You know, whenever I've ordered from them or Angel's ordered from them, you know, there's never been any issues. So it is just,
No,
you know, it does happen.
And I have said in there at the same time, you know, I've ordered from the Spider Shop several times in the past, and I've never had an issue with their deliveries. I've reviewed the Spider Shop on my channel, like some of their deliveries that I've had off them in the past, and I've always stated the same thing. You know, their packaging is always top quality. It's second to none. You know, and I stand by the same thing with this. It was just really unfortunate that you know, it's just I don't know if they've got new management in. I don't know if they've had less people, you know, helping out in the shop, or if they're just that understaffed and that over ordered that they're just not having a chance to get stuff out properly or stay on top of their stock. I don't know. But like one of the adult females that we ordered, like the day before they were due to ship it, they sent us a message to say, oh, by the way, sorry, we can't send that female because she somehow managed to get an injury and we can't put her in the post. So, you know, it's like everything was destined to go wrong with that order. Like I said, what we did receive, we were happy with, but there was all sorts of stuff wrong. There was stuff missing. You know, the communication was not great. So, yeah. Do you know what? I'll upload a review. There's a lot of talking in it and not quite so much unboxing because there was a lot less to unbox than I originally expected. But I would. You've had what? How have we had a dislike on the stream already? Some diehard Spider Shop fans like, no, you can't slate the Spider Shop.
Evening, Ian. Sorry.
Sorry, mate. Hi, Ian. How you doing, buddy?
That's it. Generally, you know, most places, even if you just spend over a certain amount, they'll just throw a little something in. You know, whether or not something's gone wrong or not, generally they just go, oh, you know, cheers for choosing us or whatever.
Yeah, and you know, and Spider Shop, not always. Sometimes they do. But you're right. Most people do. And originally, it was when we first put the order in. It was nearly a £300 order, so it wasn't a small order. You know. All right. Yeah. Admittedly, because of all the bits that they left out that didn't turn up, we ended up getting almost half of that refunded. But at least we had it refunded.
Yeah.
So I did. I've actually already sent a message, and I sent a message just over a week ago to say what the issues I had with the process was, and I haven't had a response from them.
Well, see, I was obviously holding out till BTS to decide on what I wanted and stuff. But now that BTS isn't happening.
Oh, no. That's just lifted the floodgates, that now, isn't it? So that, you know, that money that you were thinking of spending then, you're like, oh, I don't have to wait now.
I've found a few little bits and pieces. I have found a female Tripepi as well, which is like, but I'm in two minds on a few other bits as well. So yeah, but you know,
I reckon that dislike that we received on the stream is because your shelf hasn't fallen down yet. I reckon it was Tyler.
Still holding strong, so
Tyler already comes on every week. See if it's fallen on your head yet. Oh, excuse me.
No, I'll just make sure that I've got all the pieces in a tub of glue ready for the next stream.
Yeah.
And I'll just sit here trying to piece them all back together.
So yeah. So no, apart from like the plans to spend money that you were planning on saving for BTS, have you had anything new recently?
Nothing really. Did I say that I had the Hogma Yeah, I did. The Hogma Miami's from Dave, but other than that, nothing at the minute. No. And I haven't. You know, I didn't look, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do anything. Not going to do anything. And then last night, obviously, find out BTS was cancelled, and it's like, right.
Spent the day window shopping on the internet.
See what everyone's got.
So how about you guys in the chat? Has any of you got anything new this week? Oh, Ian, point for you, mate. Last time you were going to send me the list of the tarantulas that Luke had in stock at Reptasia, but you never did send me the list, buddy. If you still got the list, can you send it? Oh, He's not got anything new, but his Harpactira pulchripes has dropped an egg sac. Absolutely awesome. Spot on, buddy. That's amazing. Congratulations on that. Daddy to a couple of 100 little blue-legged babies. Awesome. I saw your new edition, Sidex. He's absolutely amazing. Hi, sis. How you doing? I think I saw my mum briefly up there as well. You know what? It's probably that. Probably my mum disliked the stream because I think she said hello and I don't think I said hello back. Yeah, there you go.
I'm sure she even asked you how you're feeling.
I think you're right. I think I was talking. This is my problem. I talk too much. Guys, if I talk too much and you want me to shut up, just tell me to shut up. Oh, well, if that was my mum that disliked my stream, I'm sorry, mother. I didn't mean to not say hello back. But I can't always see the comments when they come up. And sometimes by the time I look, I've missed them and I have to scroll back through. I am catching up with you now, though. I think I've upset my mother.
So you'll get a horrible text message come through in a minute.
That's it. I've lost the subscription. They've unsubscribed to me as well. All right, point taken.
But no, I'm in two minds. I'm either going to try and find some more pokies that I haven't got, which is only about 5 now, and 2 of them is, well, one of them's a Smithy, and the other one's the one that I can't pronounce that begins with H. That one.
Hanuma Villa Samika.
That's the one. I can never get it right, so
took me a little bit of practice as well, mate. It's fine.
But generally, whenever you say,
yeah, if it helps, it's actually named after a little village in that area. So it's a little district within that area that species is named after. Same as the Guti sapphire ornamental was named after the Guti district. But the Hanuma Villa Samika is named after that. So if you can find somebody from Sri Lanka or from that area that speaks the dialect, they can tell you how to say the name, which is what I did.
I will try that one the next time I come across someone from Sri Lanka. I might meet someone out on site. Someone, you never know.
Excuse me. You know what? I'm not going to say it. Probably best.
I'll just get it up on Google and go, can you pronounce that for me, please? But yeah, I mean, trying to find them two is a bit like a needle in a haystack, really.
Yeah.
And same with Highlands as well. Subfusca Highland.
Yeah, so I am actually still looking for a lowland. Of the 2 subspecies there, it's the lowland that I prefer. So yes, I am. Oh, awesome! That means Danielle can. So Danielle's found a charger. She can stick around for a bit now.
My one's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But it is in there somewhere, honest.
Yeah.
But I managed to pick one up from PTs, so. But yeah, other than that, I've not really been able to find the lowlands anywhere either, really. On the odd occasion, I've seen a juvie come up here and there, but then by the time you then scroll back, it's gone.
Yeah. It's rufilatas are smart. Do I have a rufilata? No, I don't have a rufilata. I've got the Ornata. I've got obviously P Metallicas. I've got a pair of P Metallicas, a pair of Regalis. I've got in fact, I've got 2 pair of Regalis. And I've also got a Tigrina Vesely. That's it for my pokies. I would like a Rufalata. Beautiful, beautiful.
We have 2 grown on slings, Rufalata.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I have most of them, but obviously most of them are still quite small because, as we all know, most of my collection is slings that I'm growing on.
Yeah.
But
see, I'll probably pick up a few slings and stuff here and there, but at the moment I'm trying to get the adults that I want, and I'm kind of keeping my eye out mostly for sort of juvenile females, sub-adult females.
But
And
that was my plan for going to the BTS, was then to try and find like juvies to adult females that I wanted and stuff like that, rather than buying slings.
yeah,
But I'm even in 2 minds of just buying some juvies of unsexed, of stuff that I want, obviously.
yeah. I've stopped buying unsexed juveniles unless they're going at the right price. Mostly because I'm starting to, I don't know if I'm getting a bit mistrusting in my old age, but almost every single time I buy a decent sized tarantula that's sold as unsexed, and it's usually being sold closer to like the female's valuation of price wise, almost guaranteed it's going to turn into a male. And we're at a stage now where there's so much information out there that, you know, even people that are still fairly new to the hobby should be able to sex their tarantulas from molts and have a rough idea of what they are. And I know for the most part, people will just sell stuff as unsexed if they get, you know, but there are people out there that unscrupulously, deliberately sell it as unsexed when they know it's a male. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I've taken that bait one too many times in the past. However, it's always nice when it happens the other way. Like I said with the male T Blondie, that isn't a male, it's a female. So, you know, it sometimes happens the other way. I call that karma. That's karma paying me back. Hi, Ebs. How you doing?
Evening, Ebs. But I know, but I mean, a lot of my sort of juvies, if you wish, have all come out of mystery boxes. So
Yeah.
even if they are male, then it's just like, it's not the end of the world, because truthfully, I haven't really paid the full price for it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. No worries, Ian, mate. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you later on if you manage to get back.
I'll catch you later, Ian.
So yeah, I've got some males I'm looking for now.
I've been half tempted to look for a male for my U-Titani,
Okay.
sort of in 2 minds, because I mean, it would be my first breeding project.
Right.
So, you know, trying to remove an exact from her as the first one might be
Yeah.
pushing the boat a little bit.
Yeah. Well, this girl behind me, I don't know if you can see her, she's just sort of in there.
Yeah, just about.
she had her molt, obviously. She's all like nice fresh clothes and stuff now, and she's been smashing literally everything that I put in there food wise. So she's definitely got her appetite back, which makes me really happy. And the male is up there on and he's still nice and active and just made a fresh sperm web. So that'll be another video coming soon as well. I'll be pairing them up. So if anybody wants 100 or so free Alparas, let me know. Because I'm not sending them out individually. If people want some, they can have them like 50, 55, 60 at a time.
Just whatever you decide you're going to throw in a tub.
Yeah, just to try and get a shot of them, because there's potentially going to be about 2,500 to 3,000 of the little buggers. I already know there's loads of of our fellow YouTube tarantula community that love Alparas and would really love to receive a whole bunch of them in the post. So I've got some ideas of who I'm going to send some of them to anyway.
For me, it's just the space. Like I say, I mean,
what males you got?
Sorry.
So like, Sidex has just put a message up saying that he's got a list of males he's after. So I was just asking what males it is that he's looking for. See, Ebbs has just come back straight in there. I'm not going to say it out loud, but so yeah, Ebbs can definitely have some. You see, I've got it electronically now, Ebbs. I have your address electronically now, so I took your advice. I moved with the times. I've saved it electronically. Just make a note of that now. 200 LPs to Ebbs. Anybody else want some? I don't get why is everyone hating on the LPs? I don't get it.
Because I think, people would prefer to have like a Panther Beatus or something.
Oh. Do you know what? When you end up breeding them and you've got tons and tons and tons of babies, they are a bit annoying. But I still think that no collection is complete without an LP. I think you have to have at least one in your collection, because they are an impressive species. You can't, for a really big beefy display species, yes, there are plenty of Panthos and other stuff out there that look fantastic, but going back years and years and years, the salmon pink was still like one of the first really big, easily available display species, and they do get to an impressive size, and the females are beautiful. It's just like some people look at like a giant G pulchra. They're not quite as velvety, but they are your quintessential big black spider, aren't they? Big scary tarantula. So I love them. Whoa there, Scott. Hang on. I think there's a little bit of a pick on Wayne evening going on at the moment. So hang on, where are I? Let me skip back a little bit. So Scott's coming out with some proper burns today, like LPs are for old people. Yeah, LPs are for old people. I said about, back in the day when they were really popular and that sort of stuff, and Scott's come back in with back in the 50s when I was a young adult. Yeah, all right. Oh, hang on, what else? Where are we? Come on, what else is he doing? Yeah, I got your number, Scott.
It's all right. Look, right. All you have to do is send Stefan about 200 of them, and then send Scott 200. And where Scott can't have them, he then has to give them all to Stefan as well.
So we'll end up with 400. You say this about, Scott not keeping tarantulas and everything else. Scott, would you like to tell everyone your good news? I'll let Scott tell it.
I did hear about this.
In fact, I'll tell you what, Scott, don't write it in there. I'm going to send you the link to this. You can come on and you can tell everyone your good news. All I'm going to say, jammiest man in the world. Absolutely jammiest man in the world. But you'll see. I'll send you the link, mate. Yeah, don't even bloody keep tarantulas. And yeah, just pulls this one off. Nah.
I know. What sort of animal's that, Stefan? ... Not heard of that species yet.
Right, I've sent you the link on Facebook Messenger, mate.
But yeah, so if Stefan all of a sudden now receives 400 LPs, he kind of knows about it.
Yeah, at least he's been pre-warned.
So get the fruit flies in.
Or just keep them all together until one emerges stronger than all the rest.
That, or somehow all of a sudden about 20 of them survive, and he's now.
There he is.
Evening, Scott.
And on the planet.
And the competition.
I can barely
You're a little
hear
bit quiet, mate.
Hang on. Better?
Slightly.
Just lean in. I entered the competition. And not even really sure what I won. It's just like, from the looks of it, some kind of like jumping spider. Some thing. It's like Typocliani Celadonia. Something like that. No.
Fair play for attempting the name there.
No, it's Typocliana Celadonia. But you have to put the thing in it, the Brazilian twang, like Typocliana, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolute jammy sod.
I feel so bad about it at the same time. So I said to you and Stefan earlier, it's like, it's my first tea. I mean, the thing about, oh, yeah, get yourself an AVIC. So, like, of course, I've just gone out there and get the prettiest AVIC in the world. Because they're in the Avicularium family, aren't they, still?
Yeah.
Probably not what she meant at first. But yeah.
So yeah, the man that's been saying for ages and ages he loves his inverts, he'll keep his inverts, but he's not going to get tarantulas. He's not ready for tarantulas yet. Not going to get any tarantulas yet. Enters a competition and wins one of the most sought after tarantulas in the hobby.
So which
That
me and
most
Angel
people-
have fallen out. And
You do realise you've just become
about
the most hated man in the hobby, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Everyone's like, congratulations, but inside they're just like, bastard.
That's exactly it. everyone's saying congratulations and uttering the word bastard under their breath.
Angel just says it out loud, doesn't she, Tom?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'll put it on eBay and let it just bidding war. Really piss everyone off.
Just if you do decide that it's a little bit too much for a first species, just remember who your friends are. Yeah, Scott.
Yeah, I'm definitely not sending that Stefan bloke. Like, honestly. And also, Stefan will probably end up with it because worst case scenario, then I don't have to ship it. And I can still have a part in its life. It's like when mummy and daddy split up, you still get like your visiting rights. Stefan
is now currently running around his living room with his shirt over his head, going yes.
Well, you say that. You had more of a reaction to finding out I'd won than I did, because I was just having a general conversation with him, and then all of a sudden it comes up, bro, in all like caps, just like massive, like tons of O's and that. You fucking won all this lot, and I'm just like, what? I won what? I didn't even know what the hell he was on about. He was like, go and look on Simply Spider's page. So I had to look on and I saw my name come up and that, and I was like, oh. I didn't really know what to make of it. I still don't. Like, Mark's gonna send it to me tomorrow, so it's gonna come on Thursday. But it should come with all like the enclosure and that sorted. If it just comes with an empty sub, I've already been at Moss collecting today, so I've got a load of lichen. Like you saw what I did today, didn't you, Wayne? I sent you a thingy over. So I've got a load of lichen shavings and some of that.
Who's streaming from their phone?
Me, sorry.
So it looks like you just got a message come through. You turn that vibrate off, dude.
That's all the hate mail coming through now.
It's not the hate mail. I just need some camera.
All the people watching the stream now just.
Yeah, everyone's just sending me through offers now. That's what it is.
Well, this is what you'll get now. You'll get everybody sending you messages going, "Oh, dude, it's really, really difficult species to look after. Probably not an ideal beginner species. If you want to send it to someone that knows what they're doing, I'll give you XXXYZ for it." That's what you'll have now.
Well, I won that competition, and then someone just randomly popped up and said about, "Oh, have you seen you won such and such competition?" And that. I thought it was on about Simply Spiders thing, and I looked at it again, and I'm like, "What the hell's PPL?" There was some random Facebook scammer trying to get me in touch with Agent John or whatever his name is to claim my money back from the People's Postcode Lottery. And so I was in a second one for a minute. Well, honestly, I've been in touch with Hadders, with Hadley Davis from Fantastic. So I've video chatted him yesterday. Had a bit of a chat with him today as well, because obviously he was like the first person, pretty much in Europe, wasn't it, to breed these in captivity and that. So I've got a fair bit of info from him. I've got some info from Troy. Obviously, Mark's given me a bit of a rundown as well. So
I thought the first lot bred in captivity in Europe were done at Spiders World EU.
Oh yeah, sorry. I think that was the case, and then he was the first in the UK. Sorry.
Right. Oh, my sister's off. Good night, sis. Thanks for joining. Give mother a kiss for me.
Tell her to remove the dislike. Yeah. It's one of those where you feel really conflicted in your head.
Yeah, I get that.
If I'd have won like a Chromatus or an Agen or something like that, like sweet, that's first tarantula. But to win the second most expensive, probably the most sought after in the hobby, because obviously the buy rupees is the most expensive, but it's not really as sought after as the jewel, from what I understand.
Yeah, see, I'd given a choice out of two, I'd much rather have the Birapes.
Hmm.
Oh,
And
the
then that's
Cimaroxy
better
Goron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like my blue metallic spiders though. So
Yeah, they look like a pulcra piece on crack. Just the vibrancy and the actual neon. It's a lot more like
basically,
you call
it's
it
basically a
electric blue.
Chilobrachus species electric blue on steroids.
Yeah, that's yeah.
That's one way to
Obviously
put it, I
coming
suppose.
from Borneo as well. Quite a nice area, but obviously that's why they're a bit more rare and stuff, because Borneo is not the easiest place to. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean the size suits me, because I said from the start, didn't I? I said I wanted a smaller raptor.
Yeah, you don't get much smaller than a T. Saladonia either. They're like one of the smallest dwarf species out there, if not the
Yeah.
smallest
And they've got quite
out
a bit
there.
of temperament, from what I understand. They're small, but they're not too bulky. A
They
lot
are
of the
fast.
unboxings.
They are fast and they do jump though.
Oh, yeah, but I've got a jumping spider, so that's cool. I've dealt with a fast jumpy spider already. My little Regis is picking up some size now. It's done his second molt with me a couple of weeks last week. My mantis is growing like nothing, so I've got a fair bit of range, like humidity wise, arboreal and terrestrial. So in theory, I've got all of the skill set to take it on and to potentially do very well with it. But
Yeah.
Tom is looking a bit shocked still.
No, someone just come in the doorway.
All right. Yeah, like obviously you can't prepare yourself for something that you've never had before. Like obviously everything's different. Even stuff for the same species, you'll get one of them and they'll just throw you for like. But I've got all you guys, like, as much as you all probably hate me now, I'm sure you'll send me down the right way, because
Yeah, of
like
course. And
you
I say about everyone hates you. Nobody hates you, mate. Nobody hates you. Everyone's just that little bit jealous, and they're a little bit like, "Damn it, why doesn't anything like that ever happen to me?" And that's all it is. And everyone will always be that way. But honestly, mate, and I think I speak to most of the people here, if not all of the people here, we are genuinely happy for you. That is an absolute touch.
Fair play.
You know, and I'm glad I know, it was you that won it, you know. So yeah, I'm happy, dude. As much as we take the mick and stuff like that, genuinely happy for you.
I'll put everything I can into it. You know, I'm not one of those people that will get it and then like not do the research and that. Like I said,
No,
I spent
I know
2
that.
days talking to people that have got experience keeping and stuff like that. And if it matures out and that, there's nothing to stop me looking at breeding them. But I doubt I'd ever get that far with. I mean, that would be one hell of a first breeding project as well. But there's nothing to stop you if the isopods go the way they're going, then I might have to pocket money to get another at some point. But let's just hope this one goes well. And while I've got you guys to support and that, even if you ain't kept it, you've got the knowledge of who's the right person to talk to, who would be a good shout and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course, dude. And we're always here for that sort of stuff.
Yeah. But,
Well, in some ways, it's just pretty cool that it's ended up being with someone that we've known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all of those people on Instagram, and
yeah,
it's ended up like near enough on our doorstep.
Everyone it could have ended up with it ended up with me. That poor spider.
But there's, I don't know, there's a lot worse that you could start with, I suppose.
Well, yeah.
Mm.
But
should have entered a competition for like a Harpactira or some old world, like pretty old world and that. But if I enter those, most of the time I do a bit of a fast one and I enter it. And then if I ever get it, then it will just end up going to Stefan. So he gets like a second victory. But I don't really do that because if I keep it, like if I win it, I want to keep it. And the more comfortable I'm getting with the tarantulas, I've got to like go for it now. Like the reason I stopped entering for old worlds and that is because at least if I enter an new world, I've got a chance of trying to keep it myself first. You know, whereas like before, I'd kind of like get tagged in it and that, and then I'd kind of think to myself like, you know
what? I agree to a certain extent.
I didn't sit right with me eventually. Like, because I did it like for a couple of Raggy Tees ones when that was back in the day when it was not taboo. But then obviously when you think about it, like you wouldn't want that. If you've entered it because you want to keep it and someone's entered it and then given it to someone else, that's just not right. So like this was like when I was early in the hobby.
Yeah, and I do agree to a certain extent. A lot of people, especially when they're just getting into the hobby and that sort of stuff, automatically jump down this drawing a line between old worlds and new worlds and saying that, you know, you're a new keeper, you have to get new worlds, you can't get old worlds. I disagree. So my personal opinion, and it might be a controversial opinion, but my personal opinion is that it doesn't matter whether you are a new keeper, whether you're a really experienced keeper, so long as you, number one, do the research that needs to be done, number two, aren't going to be a moron and try and handle everything that you get in an irresponsible way, and three, have the respect for the fact that regardless of whether you're keeping it as a pet, it is still a wild animal, and respect it and treat it as such. I don't think that old worlds necessarily should be ruled out for new keepers. I think if new keepers are going to approach it with a little bit of common sense, a little bit of knowledge and a bit of respect for the animal that they're keeping, then I don't see why as a new keeper you can't keep old world species. My second ever tarantula back when I was a really, really young lad was an OBT. My first was a Chili Rose.
When they're dealt with properly, a lot of people give them a really bad rap, but from a lot of people that have kept them and that, they seem to get a really overinflated, and it's just kind of stuck.
It also, you're right. It also goes on to what your reasonings are for getting into the hobby in the first place.
Oh yeah, like for me,
you know,
this is a big step because I'm technically scared of spiders. But well, I am scared of most spiders. But like for someone that's into spiders,
Sidex, check your message, dude.
And an OBT or like an old world tarantula would be absolutely brilliant for someone to keep as long as they do the research and they know what to expect.
Agreed.
And if that doesn't bother you, then you can pick any spider on the website. Just do your same as a snake. The amount of people that will say, "Oh, yeah, buy a corn snake." I'm not being funny. I love my corn snake, but it's a bit emasculine. You know, the boa is like my favourite now because I've got the boa.
Yeah.
You know, and if at the time, like, it wasn't the fact that Mum was terrified of snakes and that, and I felt more comfortable with it, I'd have gone for a boa first.
Yeah.
You know, because the only difference is the research and the preparation for the future. You know, with snakes, it's a lot more difficult because of the amount that they can grow. But it's only the same as buying an LP as a first spider and then realising that you've got a dinner plate on your hands in
Agreed.
X amount of years' time.
Agreed. And I mean, this is, like I said, this is one of those things, and it. Hey Lee, welcome back, buddy. Again, there you go, Lee, perfect example. So, first T getting back into the hobby after 10 years off was a Hattie. You know, and if you're talking about flighty, defensive old world species, you can't get much more. You know.
Yeah, so Hattie in the
you can't get much more defensive than that genus. But this is the thing, as I said before, it very much depends on your reasons for getting into the hobby. So there are people that get into the hobby because they're fascinated by it. There are people that get into the hobby because they think it's just really cool to show off to their friends, because keeping tarantulas is a bit dark and a bit creepy, and some people just like it from that perspective. And then you get people that get into the hobby. I'm not going to name names, but I've recently had somebody follow me on YouTube that I started following back, and looking at their channel, it specifically seems to revolve around handling, like physically handling the most stupid species of tarantulas that you can imagine. Tarantulas that I would never in a million years consider handling, you know. And there are people that do it specifically for that specifically upload videos to YouTube and specifically do it to get a reaction from people and stuff like that. And I think, yes, if you're going into the hobby because you want to handle tarantulas, and that's your sole reason for doing it, my personal opinions of the type of person that makes you is neither here nor there. But then, yes, I would say old worlds are probably not the way to go for a new keeper if that's what you've got in your mindset about how you plan on, get stuff like that. Exactly. So it's not worth taking those chances.
Like you were saying earlier, obviously I stepped out, Wayne, when you were talking about like doing research and stuff like that. People say like LPs are a good starter, but LPs can be pretty feisty when they want to be.
They can.
So even something like that, can basically shit up a new keeper if you wish. And if you haven't done your research, then you're not going to realize what they can be like. You're going to think, oh, well, maybe they're just going to kick a couple of hairs and stroll off and do, basically nothing.
Yeah, agreed.
When in fact, they can actually be pretty fast when they want to be.
Oh, yes.
And I mean, when they do actually want to rear up at you, a big spider like that is sort of...
It's a lot scarier than, a little bracky or something like that, isn't
it? Yeah.
Whereas, and this is the thing, LPs, their first point of call, if they get annoyed, first point of call is to kick some hairs, and they do. They're quite quick. They scuttle away quite quick, and they will kick up a cloud of hairs. LPs have got particularly nasty hairs anyway, so if you start breathing them in around your mouth and nose, it's not particularly comfortable, And then you've got the fact that because they are big, very confident species, they will turn and they will give you a threat posture. LPs very much like Theraphosa, they can stridulate. They will hiss at you. You can audibly hear them stridulate. It does put you on your back foot a little bit if you're not prepared for it. But like I said, they range, they generally tend to be very confident, very open species. They don't hide away very often, which is why they're quite popular for newer keepers, because they are that quintessential big, dark, scary looking tarantula that gets to an incredible size that's always out on display. And as I said, yes, if you're going into it with the wrong mindset or in the wrong frame of mind, then no, they're not suitable for a beginner keeper. If we're talking about a beginner keeper that's not prepared to do any research, not prepared to provide it the respect, and wants to get a tarantula that they can stick their hands in and try and handle straight away, then absolutely not. It's not a suitable species for a beginner of that caliber. But if it's somebody that's going to approach it with respect and with a little bit of research and with the knowledge that it is a wild animal, there is a potential for risk to both yourself and the tarantula, then yeah, I don't think any species should necessarily be out of bounds if you go into it with the right mindset.
That's it. I was researching 5 years before I got one, and our first one was an Orphanacus blue penne.
Again, we're talking about a particularly flighty, particularly defensive old world species, albeit not a very big species. But yeah, most people would say not suitable for a new keeper. But as you said, 5 years of research, I'm in an R-in, and you finally made the decision and you went into it. You didn't jump in with both feet before putting your head in the game first. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
It was more that Angel said no all the way through, and then I come in from work and she had bought it.
So you weren't really given that much of a choice.
So I wasn't given the option of choice on what the first species was. But, I'd done the research beforehand, and, from there onwards, it just grew. And you know, I've done research on everything now.
Yeah. I think that's the hardest thing about the mystery boxes as well, because if you don't really know what you're doing, you might get thrown a curveball and get something you really weren't expecting.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
but then obviously with your general knowledge and the amount of time you spent or spend even just researching species after species after species, it always helps to know a bit about species you don't keep, because you never know when you're going to be in that situation. And like with the beginner species, a lot of people think, what would I hand a child? And I think that's what they class as a beginner species. Is like, if I give a 10-year-old this spider, is it going to be too much for a 10-year-old to handle? And I think that's kind of like the misconception. A lot of beginner species are kind of like, what would we hand our kids?
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
people in like your kind of experience and that are fully adult humans that can make decisions for themselves. It's what would I give someone that's a subordinate to me that I would be comfortable with them getting to grips with and taking care of.
Yeah, agreed.
I can agree with that, but all I will say is that when you do order a beginner box, you can get potentially something having like an LP or something, which, I mean, obviously, if you've grown with it, then it's not so bad. You know, if you go and get, say, like a juvie or something in there, then it could potentially throw you a little bit.
Is that on the LP?
Uh,
Is it?
but not, I'm not, I'm just using an LP as a bit of an example because where they're so cheap, a lot of shops will throw them in for free. But generally, obviously, you'll get a sling, which then you can grow with it. And that's what I've liked about the mystery boxes, that majority of the time you will get slings rather than like adults. You'll get the odd juvie here and there, but it's a bit of few and far between. And if you do, then generally it's something like a brachy or Phomictopus. I've got a few of within mystery
Yeah, I mean,
boxes.
a lot of people wouldn't really hand a child an old world, mainly
No,
because the
of
bites are
course.
typically a lot more potent, and obviously the speed that they move, a child might not have the reactions. That's kind of what I meant, not like the size and that, but that's another really good point.
Yeah,
Um,
But yeah, no, I completely agree with you there that, you know, it's like they do look at a beginner box basically as if you could sort of, like Absitz just said, without, you know, with supervision, obviously, you know, you could give to basically a child if they're looking at getting into the hobby or something like that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
like I say as well, within the comment section, if you were to do something like that, you can ask for primarily slings and you can grow with them.
yeah.
So in that sense, then you wouldn't have to start with something that you don't feel that you could cope with.
no,
Yeah,
true,
I mean, for me,
true.
the swings and roundabouts would be, if I started with a juvenile, I've got past the hard bit, and there's more of a chance of success keeping it. Because a lot of people said at juveniles, you're past like that death stage where you get something slightly wrong and suddenly crash. But then you've then got to deal with a spider that is genuinely a spider. Whereas with a sling, you kind of forget that sometimes because they're that small, and then as they molt, you get used to it, like you say. So like, there's that side of it as well. Like, even for beginners, like a lot of people will say about slings. But I don't know about you guys, but talking to Stefan and a couple of other people, um, it's almost advisable to, if you can, and if you feel comfortable enough to jump into it, to get a juvenile, just because there's that little bit more of a safety net.
Yeah,
There is, but then there is also the case that a spider could have a bad molt at any time.
Hmm.
which, you know, it could be just a case of losing a limb, as we all know happens, and, you know, they regrow it over a few molts. But then there's the other case where my OBT did it. She had a bad molt and she didn't make it at all. And
Yeah, I got
she
one.
was sort of juvie-ish size.
Mm.
So
Yeah, the other day I thought I had a bad move from the flower mat because my legs were poking up. But then when it actually like fully adjusted and started walking around that, it was completely fine. So I think it was just like finishing up and sort of getting back to sort of normality again, or it was just in a funny position. But yeah, bad molts are really something that can happen. You know, it's the risk that you take on when you have an invert. You could have everything perfect and it can still get caught up.
yeah, you know, as I say, when I started with an old world, and I then went to the sea show after owning, I don't know, maybe half a dozen, 10 tarantulas at that point, but all were basically slings. And then I come away from there with like 4 mystery boxes because I wasn't sure what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I ended up with my P Regalis that was a good sort of, I don't know, 4 inches, 4.5 inches at the time.
Yeah. Take care, Sidex, mate. Thanks for joining as always. Have a good night, mate. Hopefully we'll see you next time.
Yeah, take it easy.
If you'll excuse me for a moment, I'm just going to go and get a fresh cup of coffee.
No worries. But yeah, I think it all just comes to that whole researching and picking and choosing how comfortable you feel. I mean, obviously, everyone then sort of does their research and sits and watches videos and sees how fast it can move or what species can move. And then it's just going from there, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely, like, how to explain it? There is always the higher chance of an old world being more of a bolty tarantula. The only reason that that's the case is because in the places they come from, they are not in a high enough level of the food chain to not need to move and move fast. You know, that's the only difference. Like, they've got to have it built into them. You know, whereas in other places like in Mexico and that, they have their own kind of ecological set where they are pretty much high up and they don't really need to worry about anything other than birds. But, you know, typically they don't have to move as fast. So, like, that's where that disposition comes from, typically, I think, is where you've got your natural predation and the kind of animals that you're dealing with. You know, because the Americas are so much more relaxed and so much less deadly stuff. Like your snakes, there's nothing really medically significant in the snakes in America. Your Bushmaster is probably your most toxic, I'd say, and that's purely simply because of the size. And then when you go over to the old world, you've got the top 10 snakes all live in one country, you know, of the most venomous. Your top venomous tarantula, venomous true well, megalomorph. I don't know if it's a. Are there funnel webs true spiders?
I don't think so, but I'm
Uh,
not 100%.
Obviously, you've got Atrax. If we just say that, then it's. But you get what I'm saying. Like, there's so much more that can kill you in those countries, typically.
Yeah. All right, just one sec.
Mm-hmm. I've got
but yeah, I mean, all spiders and tarantulas have the same instincts, but they have different reactions.
yeah.
It's basically what it comes down to, isn't it? Oh,
I mean, when you've got a defense mechanism where you can kick a load of fiberglass like hairs into someone's face, you don't really need to worry about getting out of there as quickly because you've got that deterrent to get them to get out of there. But yeah, it's interesting because who has the right to say what's a beginner and what's not? At the end of the day, a beginner is where you want to start. You associate the risks, you take on the responsibility to do the research, and then you're responsible for whether it goes right or wrong. And people that it's only people should only ever take it as an advisory. I advise you to start here. If you want to start there, go for it. These are some people that you could talk to get enough information and get comfortable with that. But there should never be you need to start with a Jeep Ultra or you need to start with a curly hair or So I think that's
no, I think it's more just because they've probably had people that have, like, beforehand ordered a mystery box and don't realise quite what a mystery box is. And like they're a first time buyer, say for instance, oh look, mystery box for 50 quid, just the same, like maybe they keep millipedes, say for instance. Some people sell millipede mystery boxes, other places don't. They might possibly think, oh, it's a mystery box, so anything could come in it. And they order it and not realise all of a sudden a load of old worlds turn up in it. Because where they've ordered from don't really supply that many new worlds.
Yeah.
Because they might have not done.
Have an idea of what they can send. Because a lot of the time they'll only send what's on their website. It's not very often that they'll have something that's not listed. So if you're basically just seeing old worlds and you're expecting old worlds, if that's your point of purchase.
But then there's places like, if you look at, say, the Spider Planet, he does sell new worlds, but he's sort of more old world. So, if all of a sudden you say you go and bought a mystery box from him, say, for instance, as your first one, not realising, like back before, say, they have beginner boxes and advanced boxes, because Spider Planet do have the option of either.
So did it used to be that a couple of years ago a mystery box was literally a mystery box, and then in the past
I don't know.
Years, people have come from and they've gone, right, let's start doing mystery boxes, but give people an idea of what level they're going to get. So like that's why you've got stuff like the bread box and stuff on the Spider Shop where you've got like just slings or a mystery box, or there's the Feeling Brave mystery box or whatever, or the baboon box, and it really gives you an idea of what you're going to be keeping.
See, but that's the thing. Obviously, I've only been keeping tarantulas now for a couple of years, so I wouldn't know how they advertised them back when they started doing them. But I can only imagine maybe that originally they all just started as that you bought a mystery box. And then as time progressed with research as well, because obviously there's been a lot of stuff that's obviously not like newly discovered, but it sort of has been rediscovered on terminologies and taxonomies and stuff like that. That
classifications and stuff like that.
Yeah, so they're finding out more and more, obviously, as the time goes on. Maybe that's then come into play with then saying beginner and stuff like that. you know, I'm only taking a wild guess at it, but because obviously when you go to the spider shop, obviously
basically like you'd arrange with the owner of the shop, I'm gonna give you 50 quid and you're gonna send me 50 quid's worth of random stuff. You know, before mystery boxes really took off, there's got to have been a few people that had just gone up to a guy and gone, right, here's the money, send me what you want.
yeah.
You know. But people then saw that they can make money from it, so they put it up as an item. But then you get the inexperienced people thinking, "Oh, that's a good deal, so I'll do that," and then they get handed like Syria Pagopus or something like that, and you're like, "Oh, that's gonna be fun for you."
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, is that sometimes, or like, that's probably why they've had to end up like dividing it,
Yeah, I
if
mean,
you
it's
wish.
probably because they've had like pissed off people come back to them like, "Why the hell did you send me the spider?" And they've gone, "Well, it's the whole
Yeah.
idea of the thing." So to save them the ball, they've probably put in the other levels. You know, it saves them getting bad press from people being like, "Why the hell have they sent me this when I'm just a beginner?" And at that point, you've got to think, well, they're not a mind reader. They're seeing you stepping into the unknown, so there's an expectation that you've got that level of experience to be comfortable doing that.
Well, you know, just confidence then, basically, that you're going to be fine with whatever you get. And as I say, this is what I was saying earlier, is that some people, when they get a sling, it's fine, because then
full control, full confidence in Dave Fisher picking it up, having a rough idea of how to do it, and smashing it. You know, because Dave Fisher, he makes the Japanese funnel webs look like puppy dogs. You know, he's got a real knack for it. The mystery box for him is probably just a walk in a pot. But then someone coming out of, you know, coming on the stream a couple of times, looking at getting their first tee, jumping in, if they saw a mystery box and thought it was the value for money, it's a completely different situation. And as a company, that's why I think they've done the split, because they've got to see that people are stupid. And you can't expect only experienced people that know what they're doing, like Dave Fisher, like Wayne, like you, like whoever else, you know, that is confident to pick up a completely random package of different spiders and know what to do.
I can't comment on that.
yeah.
I missed most of that.
We were just not trying to, but we were just discussing on like maybe like how they come up with the whole beginner and advanced mystery box scenario, on whether
Okay.
or not someone basically just sort of like originally walked up to a stall or a shop and said, "Look, you know, there's 50 quid, there's 100 quid, just make me something," and then eventually over time, you know, it comes with a mystery box. And
Yeah,
you know,
it's possible. I mean, a lot of places have been doing mystery boxes for quite a while now, haven't they? I mean, if you just go onto YouTube and type in mystery box unboxings, there's people been doing it for years and years and years. So I suppose it was only a matter of time before little niche markets within the retail world started to catch on with it. And you know, I suppose from two perspectives, you know, it does give that somebody that's a little bit indecisive about like, oh, I don't know what to get, I don't know, you know, it does give them an option to go, I'll tell you what, surprise me. Here's 50 quid. Send me what you think is worth 50 quid, and we'll see what we get and take your chances that way. You know, so I think mystery boxes have been, for the most part, beneficial to the hobby.
Yeah, it benefits this hobby, but could you see it in reptiles?
I think it would be very different with reptiles. I think because the specialist care for reptiles is so broad. Yeah, I think because with reptiles, because the specialist care is so broad, you know, it's not like with a tarantula, you could pretty much at any given time have a tarantula turn up in a post and be able to set it up in a temporary house, like temporary house. It needs a bit of substrata, a plastic tub if you've got nothing else, and a bit of decor and a hide and a water bowl, which most people just use milk bottle lids and stuff like that. So you could set up a tarantula at the drop of a hat. It's not an issue. You know, if you were to get a mystery box with certain species of reptiles in it, that sort of stuff, you're not always going to have the stuff that you need to be able to house it straight away. So it would be irresponsible for a start.
And everything like that as well. But
Agreed.
All of
So
a
I
sudden
think
have like a baby chameleon, a possum.
The only real hobby in terms of animals you could ever see this kind of thing being successful and being something that isn't just straight up neglectful to the animals.
yeah,
Because if you've done it with like just a mystery fish, you know, you might end up with marine fish and you've got it set up for a freshwater tank or whatever, and stuff like that. It's a very, very interesting thing that's come out of inverts, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. But it opens up so many of these controversies, and it's really interesting to talk about, because it's sort of, when you get into it, you kind of think about, you know, where the people were coming from in the initial place, where it's moving now, you know.
yeah. But the other thing you got to think about with inverts is regardless of where it's from or anything else, you don't really, for the most part, need any specialist equipment to house 99.9 species of inverts that you can keep in the hobby.
Yeah, most of the time you don't even need the heat.
Exactly.
Lights, the next one as well.
Yeah. So that there's no UV requirement. You know, yes, it's always handy with anything, regardless of whether it's an invert or a reptile or an amphibian, to provide it a natural circadian cycle. So it still needs a normal day-night cycle, because that's just part and parcel of the way things live. You know, inverts are notoriously, for the most part, nocturnal hunters. You know, they do sense light, so they will come and hunt at night, and that's when their feeding time is. So you do need that natural circadian cycle, because it does have an impact on their feeding patterns and stuff like that. But no, you don't need any specialist light source. No, you don't need any specialist heat source 99% of the time. They don't require specialist housing. You don't need misting systems. You don't need, you know, fogging systems. You know, most species of inverts you can house, maybe not 100% like spot on the way it should be, but you can house adequately. You know, if you have a spare selection of plastic tubs, a few bits of cork bark, some moss, and some basic mixed substrate, and that is pretty much all you need. So
even just straight cocoa fiber,
exactly,
even
which
topsoil.
Yeah, it would do in a pinch, you know.
As long as you bake your dirt, that's technically substrate.
Well, see, you say about baking it and that sort of stuff. Now, again, this might be a little bit of a controversial subject. You can think whatever you want, but I get bags of Westlands organic topsoil.
Mm-hmm.
So Westlands pride themselves in the fact that there's no additives, there's no pesticides, there's no nothing else in it. In terms of parasites and that sort of stuff, generally most of the stuff that you can get over here isn't going to cause any issues anyway. I generally don't bake my substrate. I will get it out, I will mix my substrate to the way I want it, and I generally just leave it in a box to air out, dry out, and I'll re-humidify it when I need to use it.
Like if you picked it up and had a centipede in it, and then you put a sling in there, that's the only reason I'd say to heat treat. If you're not going for a bioactive setup, then there's nothing wrong with doing, because that then is your sterilized topsoil, if you like.
Yeah, which, you know,
things like your wood and stuff, your rotten wood for your millipedes and that, a lot of people say don't heat treat it and don't boil it, etc. Because by doing that, obviously you see the tannins come out, and the tannins are really what is the nutrients that the animal needs.
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuff that's like for consumption, it's detrimental to treat it.
Yeah.
But if just for a scenery and you don't want to have like a natural bio load from your native environment, You know,
Yeah.
you can bake, you can not bake. It's completely up to you. And I really do believe, like you say, like especially in the UK, you've got very little to worry about in terms of like where you're getting stuff. The only thing you've got to worry about is if you're in a heavy foot traffic area, you could have alcohol,
Yeah.
substances, chemicals, whatever from people's foot traffic. And the only other thing that you've got to worry about is picking up the wrong leaf or the wrong type of wood.
Yeah.
In America, it's very different because they have very widespread use of pesticides, fungicides, all of that chemical spray that
Yeah.
you see going over the fields and everything. So it's very hard in America to go out to somewhere and know that it's 100% safe from
Yeah.
any kind of chemical because of the widespread nature of
Yeah.
the way that they do stuff.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky in that respect.
Yeah. I mean, anything that I get, that I collect, you know, out rambling or whatever, that I bring back always gets a good wash before I use it anyway. But by wash, I literally mean I'll give it a good wash under some running water and let it air out until it's naturally dry before I use it, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's usually more than enough anyway.
Yeah.
I pretty much do exactly the same.
Yeah.
Right, all of my stuff, like I've got a big box of substrate underneath here that, you know, my topsoil comes straight out of a bag into
Yeah.
here with whatever else I'm mixing into it.
Yeah.
Whatever moss I collect, I generally just leave in a tub or leave in the bag or whatever. You
Yeah.
know,
I mean, my
and then when
substrate mix that I use. Yeah, my substrate mix that I use as a staple for pretty much everything is almost identical to the mix that the Dark Den uses. So if you've seen his substrate mix, mine's pretty much the same. It's a mix of a little bit of cocoa fiber, some topsoil. He says potting soil, but I use topsoil, and then some peat moss and a bit of sand mixed in with that, and that's my substrate for pretty much everything. But depending on whether I'm doing a terrestrial, arboreal, or a deep burrowing species, I just change the amount of topsoil and sand just to make sure it packs in and you can make like burrows that construct better and more solid. Because the one thing that topsoil is usually quite heavy in is clay. There's usually quite a bit of clay in topsoil, which means it's very, very good for constructing like substantial burrows that aren't going to collapse in on themselves if it dries out too much and things like that. So for species like my African burrowing species, like the Hysterocrates gigas, the Pelinopus muticus, that sort of stuff, I've got in a mix that's got a lot more topsoil and a bit more sand, because it makes it much more structurally stable to create burrows with. Arboreal species that barely use any substrate or anything else, and it's literally for a covering, there's a lot higher mix of coir substrate in it, and then a lot more moss on top for retention of humidity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
for my arboreals, I've started adding rotten leaf litter and whitewood into it as well. Just because for my arboreal substrate, I basically do everything, you know, topsoil, cocoa fibre, sand, but I also add rotting wood and leaf litter into it as well to give it more of a bit of an aerated bit, so that it gives better drainage throughout it, that then falls into my drainage layer, that then obviously evaporates over time for my humidity.
Yeah.
So the substrate isn't ever really, you know, soaking wet or anything, because obviously it just drains all the way through.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing that I change my substrate for. Everything else is pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah.
Topsoil, cocoa fibre, sand. That's about it, really.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone keeping that, I mean, my biggest mistake I made was putting a massive thing of Westland's New Horizon when it was properly organic and that, and like one of the best sort of compost mixes. I put a big bag of that in like a 45-litre tub, and then I came back to it a couple of weeks later, and it was completely fuzzed over with mold.
Yeah.
And like the biggest thing that you've got to make sure is like put in holes and mesh the same as you would with like an enclosure. And it seems that once you let the air flow, you don't get like the mold in or anything. It's just stored.
Yeah.
In blocks.
Well, my tub that I store all my substrate in is an open top. There's no lid on it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was going to do that, but because I've got fungus gnats in my room, I didn't really want to be like having a bit of a breeding ground for fungus gnats. And the
Yeah.
other side of it as well is at the time I was keeping it downstairs, and the dogs would have had a whale of a time kicking that money out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do exactly the same. Mine's just down here in a big 80-litre rub. You know, just open top. Sat next to a radiator as well, so it just dries out over time, and
Yeah.
then I just add in whatever I need whenever I need it.
Yeah. Agreed.
That's good as well, because the bottom layer will probably stay quite moist regardless, won't it? So you'll have a decent amount of dry, but if you need to put it in a humid setup, you can probably just dig down that little bit further,
Yeah.
get stuff out, and get the gradient sort of ready to go. But my question for you, Wayne, is why would you use core when you're already using topsoil? Because
Say again.
the one thing why would you use the cocoa core when you're already using topsoil? Because the biggest thing I've noted that people get is they will get the mold issues and that, and a lot of the time it's when they've used a lot of core. So I don't understand why there's any benefit with the cocoa.
So it for two reasons. Because of the structure of the cocoa fiber, it doesn't break down. So topsoil is created by the natural process of breaking down compost with added bits of clay and all that sort of stuff. So that's a natural product that can still be broken down further by your cleanup crew and that sort of stuff. They will take nutrients out of it and they will break it down further. Adding the coir does two things. So number one, it's quite good when you need to rehydrate it. I don't know if you've ever tried to rehydrate pure topsoil on its own. It's an absolute nightmare. If you ever try to rehydrate pure topsoil on its own, you spray the surface, the water sits on the surface, it soaks in a little bit, it evaporates, it's gone, and it will just leave a really sort of pebbly surface to your topsoil, basically. If you mix the coir in with it, it helps retention and it helps that water soak right the way through. So you get that extra humidity retention throughout all of your substrate. But also because the structure of it's slightly different, it stops it compacting too tight and still allows a certain amount of airflow through the soil. So you have your airflow within the soil as well. So that airflow stops things like your fungus and mold from building up inside the soil. And you'll always notice people that use minimal amounts of like airflow throughout their soil, because when you look at their tanks, especially if it's been stuff that's been in situ for a long time, you look at the glass on the front of the Exoterras and you'll always see that sort of almost crusty layer of yellow greenish mold that sort of developed against the glass underneath the top layer of substrate, and that's because there's no airflow within the soil. So adding the coir gives you airflow within the soil as well. So I know it sounds almost counterproductive or counterintuitive, but there is a method to the madness, and in my experience, it has made a big difference in that side of using it. And as I say, cost as well, really. You know, I know topsoil is not expensive, but coir is even less expensive. And if you add a little bit of that to your topsoil, it does stretch it out and make it go a little bit further. So multitude of different reasons. There are husbandry reasons why I do it, but it also makes your substrate go a little bit further. And as I say, you just change the mix that you use it for. So if you're in something that is particularly humidity loving, then you add a little bit more of the coir because it helps all of the substrata retain humidity, so you get a slower release of humidity and it doesn't dry out quite so quickly.
Okay, that's great. I mean, I'll start doing that then, because coming from reptiles, cocoa fiber always seems really expensive. Obviously, if you get it for gardening, it's then a lot more cheap. And
That's all I
it's a lot
use.
more affordable. Because
So-
I think yours started at like £14 for 70 litres or something.
Yeah, so on Amazon, you can get it in big blocks, about this big.
Yeah.
Big, thick, compressed block. It's exactly the same as the stuff that they use for, like in the reptile hobby and stuff like that. It's exactly the same. There's absolutely no difference. It's sterile. It's natural. It's all exactly the same. It's produced in the same place. It's just packed in bigger chunks, and it's not quite as finely processed, shall we say. So if you want a really fine substrate, then get the reptile specific stuff. Check you later, Absit. Thanks for joining, buddy. I'll see you next time.
See you later.
So yeah, from that side of it, it's fantastic for that. It's cheaper to buy it for gardening purposes than it is to buy it within the hobby. But the stuff within the hobby is just processed a little bit finer. It's less fibrous, but that doesn't bother me because I mix it in with other stuff. So if it's got a few fibers in it, it's not a problem. And actually, if you're using it for any of your naturalistic setups for your reptiles, it's better because it's a bit more fibrous. It's much more like a natural substrate that you would have broken down root fibers and leaf fibers and that sort of stuff mixed in with that top layer of substrate from the rotten leaves and all that sort of stuff as well. So it makes a much more naturalistic style setup for your reptiles anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean,
don't worry about the fact it's sold specifically for gardening. It's identical. The product is identical.
Yeah, as long as it's just the cocoa fiber, it's not like cocoa fiber and vermiculite I've seen, and cocoa fiber, and sometimes you can get it with like pre-fertilized as well, can't you?
Very, very rarely do you get cocoa fiber pre-fertilized. You generally only get that if it comes in, like you get it in little small discs in grow packs that are specifically designed for.
I think it was called Cocoa Grow Plus, and it looked like it had a peat fertilizer in it or something.
Okay, I've not seen that personally. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I've just never come across it.
Oh no, yeah. One thing I've noticed with purely cocoa fiber, you get the same issue where you spray down, because with my burrow I've got the humidifier and that.
Yeah.
So the fine mist is the majority of the humidity, so it's a lot better, but the substrate stays a lot drier, which is obviously a positive and a negative, because it means you then need to go in and occasionally hydrate it, give it a real soak down, give the plant a bit of water.
Now, tip for you.
You get if you've ever done like cocoa powder and you put it in milk, I don't know if you've seen that trend. You poke it, it separates. It's the same thing. You get your layer of water. There's a top layer of cocoa fiber on top of the water, and then it takes ages for that to dissipate through.
Yeah. Tip for you.
Similar to
Tip for you. So for those that you're having that issue with, mix in about 1/3 sphagnum moss. Just get a big bulk bag of sphagnum moss. Use the stuff you get from the garden centre with your reptiles. It's not going to be an issue. Scruff it all up and then just mix it in with your coir substrate. And then I guarantee you, when you come to spraying it down afterwards, you'll get much more even distribution of water when you spray it down.
Yeah, that'd be great for the bowl. I need to put more substrate.
Hi Diana, how you doing?
Oh, hey Diana. Yeah, my boa definitely is a bit more substrate. I gave him an 8-inch platform at the front and made like barriers so I could do up to 8 inches of substrate. It's still sitting with about 3.5, 4 inches.
Yeah.
So I really want to give it that extra. So that would be great because I can just add to my substrate and I've got enough space to do that.
Yeah.
Right, I think I'm going to have to call it a night, guys. It's getting a bit late and people are going to start going to bed in a sec.
Okay,
So,
buddy. Thanks for joining us. Are you gonna
sharing the news?
Pardon, what was that?
I said thanks for coming on and sharing your news with the world.
Yeah.
Are you sticking around in the chat, Scott?
Yeah, I should be. Yeah.
Cool,
Yeah.
awesome.
All right.
We'll see you back in the chat in a minute then, mate.
All right. Cheers. Bye.
See you in a bit, dude.
I'm guessing you haven't heard any more from James yet.
I haven't heard anything yet from James, mate. So you haven't either, no?
No.
Okay, he did say he wasn't finishing work till past, so he might just be getting through the door now. So, yeah, it's been a little bit sort of not working really according to plan at the moment.
No.
You know, I thought we'd held off going on last night because James was available this evening. It's okay, Diana. You can be forgiven for watching Disney Plus. I get hooked on that sometimes too. Speaking of Disney Plus, Diana, have you seen the new Cruella? I'm gonna have to go and watch. I've not watched it yet. It's a live action Disney film on Cruella de Vil from 101 Dalmatians. Sort of much more focused on her character. Apparently, it's quite good.
I watched on Netflix last night Enola Holmes.
Okay, I've seen that advertised. That's the young sister of Sherlock Holmes or something, isn't it?
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
Good film.
Yeah, it's quite a few I need to quite a few I need to sit down and catch up on.
That's the thing, like we've got this. Well, I say we've got Disney Plus. One of the boys has got Disney Plus, so you know, occasionally we flick through. But
yeah, I've just sent Stefan a link. See if he wants to come on and do his weekly episode or bi-weekly episode of what's in Stefan's cupboard.
well, he did say earlier that he doesn't think that he could come on this week to do it.
Oh, how come?
He said the cupboard is empty. He hasn't been shopping yet.
That's no. Poor excuse.
I say he just throws a load of random stuff in there, and then he's, you know, you've got to then find what is out of place, or he's got to tell you an object to find.
Yeah. So as you can see by the Viv that's on the floor behind me, I still have made absolutely no more progress with that.
I was going to say earlier, actually, that I could see something behind you, and I was assuming that it was still the Viv.
Yeah, I've since we last spoke, I have put a little bit more filler on it and coloured it so that it's, you know, all one colour now. Now it needs its waterproofing layer. So basically, just going to mix a load of paint and PVA glue together to create a coloured sealant and paint that all over it. And then work out what bits I want to be rocks and what bits is going to be soil and what bits is going to be everything else. And then I need to paint it and then do all the other bits and pieces. And yeah, everything else is ready to go. All the electronics all pre-installed. I just actually need to get around to finishing that. And like I say, I've been ill for a week now, so I'm only just getting over the worst of it, and then I go out on the. Oh, awesome. Yeah, and then obviously spent this morning out on the golf course with Jonathan. So yeah, I've been playing a bit of golf.
Well, I suppose since the BTS is cancelled as well, I can finish this little project
Yeah,
and get that one all done. Because I'm still trying to find some bits and pieces that I want to put inside. Because obviously I want to put obviously some cork bark tube so that they can like use them as hides and bury down into. I want to put them like all the way down into the substrate basically.
yeah.
But I want to find, I don't know, like a bit of ball root or something out from a job, and like put that in as like a center feature or something.
See, I've got a chunk set outside at the minute, but it's massive. I haven't got a tank that's like small enough for it to go into, and it would for something like that you're doing, but on a larger scale, it would be amazing for that, because it really is like you've got the section of tree that's all broken off, and then all the twisted roots coming out the bottom of it and stuff, and it's like I said, it's about 2.5 foot by about 2 foot by about a foot and a half high. It's a big old chunk, but I've got nothing small enough for it or big enough for it to go in. It would need chopping down, I think.
Well, you'd have to do a dark then and do a great big paludarium.
Yeah, but where the bloody hell would I put it?
Convert the bath.
Convert another room.
Convert the bath.
Yeah.
You could just have the shower on at all time. You know, you're fine.
Yeah. Just put a panel of glass up there.
Yeah, you just have to convert the bathroom into a shower room, and then just have the shower running at all times, and just.
Oh, but no, it would make a really nice setup. But I would have to have it would have to be like a 3 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot at least to get it in, and not look stupid. So I did think about maybe just like slicing straight the bottom third off of it, so that you only really had like the start of the root structure, and the actual roots themselves were sliced off. So I thought about doing that, and then maybe slicing down the back section of it so that it creates like a flat bit at the back that you could push up against the back of an enclosure, and then just have it visible from the front. So that might work, but it's finding something I can cut through it with. Ideally, I'd need a chainsaw.
Well, you could always, as you say, cut it off height-wise. You could cut it off in half and then have 2 halves, 2 separate tanks.
Yeah, I could do that. Again, it means I need a chainsaw. I don't want to buy a chainsaw just for that. Dremel.
Chainsaw?
Yeah, I'll do it with a Dremel. I'll be there 6 months. Oh. It'd take a half a day doing it with a handsaw.
No one that can loan you one?
Yeah, so I've got a mate whose brother is a tree surgeon, but I keep mentioning it to him, because I've got a stump that I want to chop off at a completely flush angle so I can use it as an anvil stand to put in the forge. And I've already mentioned about getting him to come up with his chainsaw to do that, but I've been asking him for 6 months and he's still not turned up. So
you've not got a local juicens that you can hire one from?
not local, but there's probably one somewhere. But again, like, it's I'm just cheap, mate. I want someone to come and do it for free.
Right, yeah, I suppose.
It's like 5 minutes work with a chainsaw. It kind of bugs me to hire one for 30 quid for the day for that. when you could buy a cheap crap one for 30 quid.
And it might just do the one job.
Possibly. I might even get 2 jobs out of it. So
And then it would be worth its weight in gold.
yeah. So I think eventually I'm probably going to bite the bullet, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to buy a cheap chainsaw. And then I'll stick it in the loft space in the garage and wait another 2.5 years until I need a chainsaw again for something else.
I do that with certain things as well. I've got a big tabletop saw and a skill saw that just sits here and
Yeah.
does nothing.
So I've got a bandsaw that I bought a little while ago, because obviously I do the knife making and that sort of stuff, and I use it for like splitting down hardwood to make handle scales for knives.
Yeah.
But since I started doing like the custom guitar building and stuff like that, a bandsaw that I can feed like quite thick chunks of hardwood through. So we're talking 40, 50 mil thicknesses of things like ash, mahogany, that sort of stuff. And the bandsaw that I've got is literally just kind of like a hobby desktop bandsaw. It won't cut through stuff at that thickness. So I've been thinking of upgrading to a better quality like desktop bandsaw that will handle thicker chunks of hardwood. But yeah, I've got a few bits and pieces laying around that I've bought that I don't use as much as I probably should. A lot of it at the moment, to be fair, is waiting on me getting out and sorting the garage out. So we keep having a clear out and using the garage as an area to store everything while we're waiting to get rid of it. And obviously with like your local county tips and stuff at the minute being like appointment only and like only open half the time, it's been difficult to get rid of the bulk stuff that we usually accumulate. So
yeah,
it's taken a little while, but we're getting there. Starting to clear, so hopefully I'll be able to get out into the garage and start doing some of that stuff soon. I'm halfway through a guitar project. I'm halfway through a new forge build. Like loads of half-finished projects that I need to get on with. So what do you have for tea tonight, Tom?
Oh, is it that time? Is it? Kind of like a chicken Caesar salad thing with potatoes and cheese all over it, and
Sounds interesting.
yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, it's more of like a summer hot day sort of thing, but it was nice for when I come in from work and I'm like dripping with sweat, and it's like don't want to eat anything.
Yeah. Now there's not so much light coming through, and you can actually see the color of my forehead. I think I've caught the sun a little bit today. So yeah, I had oh, Tyler's back. Hey Tyler. So yeah, I had scampi and onion rings for tea. Quick and simple in the oven while we're getting the kids ready for bed. Nothing exciting this week.
No cheeky dip, on the side.
No, not this time round. Not this time round. Although I have been using a lot of my hot sauce up in my cooking lately. It's been helping with the fact that I've been quite ill. I've had really blocked sinuses, and the one thing that stuff is good for is clearing your sinuses out. So, yeah, that horrible stuffy sensation when you're ill and you can't taste anything because you've got a blocked nose and your sinuses are all stuffed. Hey, no. It's a dog trying to nick the golf balls. But yeah, so no, it's been good for that.
Yeah, I've still got that one that James sent for that one.
Oh yes. Oh. Did you see Stefan and Scott's live stream on Instagram?
No, not yet. I've not really been.
It was a little while ago. Scott went out and bought some Scotch bonnet chilies, some fresh Scotch bonnet chilies, and then they went on Instagram live. Scott ate some of the chilies, had a little bit of the sauce, and then Stefan took a really big Scotch bonnet, cut the top out of the chili, filled the Scotch bonnet up with my V3 hot sauce, and then scoffed that down. So you think he looked like he was in a bad state when he did that chili paste on here the other week? You should have seen him eating it was a big fresh Scotch bonnet, and he stuffed the whole thing, and his mouth was full up with this stuff. I thought he was actually going to die. But if you go through Stefan's Instagram, he saved it on his Instagram live, so it's on his posts. That was quite funny. Yeah, that looked painful. I must admit, that looked incredibly painful.
No, it's a little bit too much for me, I think.
Yeah, he's on about trying to find fresh Carolina Reapers and doing the same thing with them. But if he was in that much of a crap state after a Scotch bonnet filled with sauce, what's he going to be like after fresh Carolina Reapers?
Suppose he's got to find some first.
Yeah. I know, mate. I know you've got a lot planned. Stefan told me what some of your ideas are. Yeah, there you go. So yeah. Although I have found a place where you can buy Carolina Reaper chili plants, little saplings, to grow your own. So I think I'm gonna order a few of them.
No, I still have a couple dried ones in the drawer over there, but
don't ever try to eat them dry.
no, I know. It's like chewing an old boot.
Because they're dehydrated, they suck all the moisture out of your mouth. And then when it comes time to try and swallow it to get rid of it, it doesn't go anywhere. It sticks. And it just burns and sticks. And you want to tear the whole lining of your mouth out. I made that mistake once, and that wasn't even a Carolina Reaper. That was a Trinidad Scorpion. So not quite as hot as a Reaper. Still pretty damn hot, but not as hot as a Reaper. So yeah. You ever played golf, Tom?
I used to play quite a lot.
Okay.
About 3 times a week.
Ah.
But haven't played now in 15-ish years.
Wow. Still got a set of clubs?
No.
No. I was gonna say there's a little place just up the road from me. So there's a story to this. I've never played golf in my life up until 3 weeks ago, when there's this sports competition thing going on at work. And I'd originally said, yeah, I'd have a go. But I also said at the same time, in the spirit of winning, if you're creating a team, you probably don't want to put me on it because I've never played before. And then when it came around to the actual day of the game where they were putting the teams together, everyone else had dropped down. So there was only the commanding officer of the unit, and he needed a golf partner. And I was the only other person available. So I got an email the day before just going like, sorry, mate, but everyone else has dropped out. You're it. So had to go and kiss the boss's ass for a day out on a golf course. But like, I was expecting to make a complete idiot out of myself. There were a few other people there on the day that had never played before either. And I thought, you know what? I'll give it a go. You know, worst I can do is give everyone a laugh, you know, and I had a bash. And I didn't actually do that bad, all things considered, bearing in mind for 24 hours before I turned up to play, I was smashing YouTube videos on how to play golf like no one's business, just to see if I could get myself a little bit of a head start in theory. So by the time I'd get there, I kind of worked out how I was supposed to hold the club, roughly how to position myself, how to build a basic swing, and that sort of thing. Obviously, big difference between theory and practice. But it turns out I've got a natural ability to hit the long ball. So like I was for the tee off for each of the tees, it's only a short 9-hole par 3 course. So for each of the tees, the tee offs, the first shot was cracking. I got roughly where I wanted to be. All right, I wasn't massively accurate left and right, but distance wise, I was getting kind of where I needed to be. My problem was the short game. My short game's terrible. Like, I can get onto the putting green, but then put a putter in my hands, and it's like that first couple of opening scenes from Happy Gilmore. I keep knocking it past. I've got no finesse and no control, and I can't seem to do anything gently. So I'm cracking this ball, and it's going past the hole, and then I'm going back over the other side and cracking it back towards the pin, and it's going past the pin again. And then I'm taking a par 3, which I should be able to get in 3 or 4 shots, even as a new golfer, and it's taking me 4 or 5 shots just on the green to sink the ball. But I really enjoyed it. I had a fantastic time, and I wanted to give it a go. So I had a look online and found a second-hand set of golf clubs. Now, as it turns out, this second-hand set of golf clubs I picked up are actually a pretty phenomenal quality set of golf clubs. Oh, you frozen? You still there, dude? Ah, was that you or me that froze?
No, I think that's me.
Oh, it's that time of night again. But no, picked up this second-hand set of golf clubs. Turns out it's actually a really good quality set of clubs that I got for 50 quid off eBay. And then went down to the driving range and thought I'd have another go. And same sketch. My long game's pretty good. I'm pretty accurate. Not so good with a driver. But my long game's pretty good. So I took the boy out for a go today. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it, sadly enough.
When I first started playing golf, my mum went out and bought me a set of golf clubs from a car boot, and the wood was actually still made of wood.
Yeah.
That was my first set of golf clubs.
Legend.
So
That's amazing.
That's how I started playing. I sort of like wandered out onto the driving range thinking, oh yeah, this is great. And like turns up, I've got all these wooden golf clubs and everyone's got all these titanium ones and everything else. And I'm like, you kind of feel a little bit out of place at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, so when I went down to the driving range, I was cracking the balls off like no one's business, and I was getting some really good distance as well. The bloke opposite me, he's not, because it's not really a proper golf club, it's just a golf centre. So they've got a small 9-hole par 3 course and then a driving range and a little shop. But it's not an official golf club, so there's like no membership or anything else like that. So they don't need to have a club pro, but they've got an amateur, a pretty good standard amateur that goes down there and he gets free access and all that sort of stuff. And he was on the lane next to me in the golf course, and we started having a chat, because I don't know if you ever did it when you were doing it, but I have a habit of talking to myself. So like while I'm hitting the balls, I'm like, nope, too hard. Oh, why is it going left? Oh, what the hell is going on? Pulling out. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's a good distance. Like just talking to myself. And he's on the lane in front of me and he's just laughing his head off at me talking to myself like a crazy man. So in the end, I just said to him, look, Matt, I'm really sorry if I'm putting you off. I just have this habit of talking to myself when I'm doing something I'm not comfortable with. So he turned around, was having a chat, and he was watching me having a few swings and stuff. And he was like, your distance is really good. He was like, how long have you been playing for? I said, honestly, up until today, I've done 1 round of 9 holes, and this is my first time practicing on a driving range, and he couldn't believe it. So like I said, I seem to have a natural ability for the long ball. I mean, I was cracking at 120, 130 yards with a pitching wedge, which apparently is pretty good.
Yeah.
I can't use the driver very well. Drivers, they're easy.
A driver, a 7-iron, a pitching, those were my favourite.
So 7-iron, I can get out to 200 yards with. Driver, hit or miss, I'll probably hit 1 in every 4 shots cleanly, but it still has a habit of setting off straight and then flying off to the right and disappearing around the corner. I get a good distance and good speed on it. It never goes straight. It goes straight to start with and then swings off and goes right. 7-iron, I can hit fairly straight. Pitching wedge, sand wedge, I can hit fairly straight. My issue is trying to do the short pitches and chips. Can't. I've got no control. It seems when I swing a golf club, I've either got to swing it with everything I've got or nothing at all. The only time I ever seem to hit it cleanly is if I swing it with everything I've got. But yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I really enjoy it, and I think I'm going to keep going. So yeah, it's a shame you ain't got a set of clubs.
Yeah, I used to go and stash my clubs down the golf course, go in, sign in at school, walk out of school and go up the golf course.
Okay.
And their course is fucking hard.
Yeah. Well, so that's my next step. Is obviously I've played on this little 9-hole par 3 course, but it's not a proper course. I'm gonna have obviously need to spend a bit more time doing some practicing. And actually, one of the blokes I work with is he's an army golfer. He golfs for the army team, so he's actually very good. And he's basically said, if after work, if you want to like get together and I'll give you a bit of like free coaching and stuff like that, and we'll play a couple of rounds or whatever. So he's offered me that, so I might take him up on it. But I need to start finding some more golf courses that are local-ish. And you're not that far away from me, so if there's anything if there's any decent courses down your way, give me a shout. Let me know.
I know of 2. As I say, Crookhorn that I used to play, they used to class it as an amateur golf course.
Okay.
Like, you know, if you're then playing in leagues and tournaments and stuff like that, they'd class that as almost an amateur one. But
Yeah.
there's literally one that you play and it's uphill from the word go. And I think it's about 450 odd yards. But you try and hit it up that hill and try and get it up there in 3. I think it's a par 4, but it's either par 3 or par 4, but you try getting it up there. You got a cows field all next to you, just watching all the cows roaming around everywhere.
Oh, I wonder. I wonder how many people have deliberately aimed for them cows.
Where the driving range is next to a main road, with literally just a bit of post and rail.
Yeah.
As their fencing. That's it.
Yeah. See, this course, there isn't. Although it's a par 3 course, there isn't a hole long enough to even worry about using a driver. The longest hole on this course is like 210 yards.
That's a bit like Thursley Golf Course that's not far from here. You can get around that whole golf course with a 7-iron and a putter.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Crookhorn, it's a good course.
I will definitely look at checking it out at some stage, because apparently, if you want to play and you want to like play competitively in any way, shape, or form, you need to be able to like get a registered handicap and all that sort of stuff. And to even get your first registered handicap, you've got to register 54 holes basically, and then they work out the average between those 54 holes depending on what par they are, and that's how they work out your handicap. So I'm gonna have to play like a few courses at some stage just to work out where I'm at in the scheme of like where I would even start, what handicap I would be, and all that sort of stuff. Pretty much everyone starts more or less in the same place, I think, with like a 20 handicap or something, or 21 handicap, whatever it is, something like
that. I mean, I'd never really played handicap or anything because I just played for the pure fun of it, and what I made it round in is what I made it round in.
Yeah.
Because generally I was playing exactly the same course all the time because it was 5 minutes walk around the corner from my house.
Yeah.
So I could literally grab my clubs, walk on up there. I knew the groundskeeper up there, so it literally let me walk straight on, no nothing. It just hand me a scorecard and go, you know, if anyone asks, there you go. It's like, yeah, all right then. And off I go with my little scorecard in hand. No pencil or anything to fill it out. I've got a scorecard.
Yeah, so, but you know what? I don't get a chance to go out and do very much very often, and that's what I've enjoyed about doing this. Is it's just got me out in the fresh air for a little while, and after the past sort of 18 months of being stuck indoors, apart from work, and not being able to go out and do anything anywhere, it's been really nice just to go out and do something that's not work. And today I got to take one of my little boys with me as well, which was good. He enjoyed himself. I had to remind him he was playing golf and not croquet, but likes to hold the golf club and swing it like that.
Right. As long as he makes it up there, I suppose.
Yeah. So we sort of cheated a little bit. So I played the rounds on the when we went around the actual course. I played the rounds properly, but with him I let him tee off, and then we picked his ball up and carried it down to the green, and then dropped it on the green and let him putt. Otherwise, we might have been there all day, because the average distance of most of his swings was about 3.5 meters. So it might have taken us a while to get up there. When we were on the driving range, because I got him on the driving range first to show him how to hold the clubs and stuff. And when we were on the driving range, he hit a few like half decent ones. But like I say, he's only 5. Yeah, I'm not expecting You know,
Like
consistency at that age. You know, they're still quite heavy for a 5-year-old golf clubs. I'm not expecting a full swing.
They're probably a little bit big for him as well.
Well, they had kids ones, so that's the
Oh,
bonus
that's
about
right.
this place. The little shop bit that's open next door, you can hire clubs out of that. So I went in to see if we could get some for him, and she got him in and measured him up and gave him a set that was the right size for him. So he had his own little kiddie size golf bag that had what did it have in it? It had a 3-wood, a 8-iron, sand wedge, and a putter.
Hey, it's better than nothing.
Which was great, but he got bored of carrying it around, so I ended up carrying around 2 golf bags. I did say at the start, like, Jonathan, you don't need a bag. You can put your golf clubs in my bag. I'll carry them for you. And he insisted on having his own golf bag. I said to him right at the beginning, you do realise then you're going to have to carry it, right? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, first hole, Daddy, I'm tired. I can't carry it. Okay, fine. So I carried it for the next 8.
Yeah, sounds about right for most things.
But yeah, no, I really enjoyed that, and it's just round the corner from here as well. It's like 10 minutes in the car down the road.
The other thing that I used to enjoy quite a lot of was lake fishing.
I used to do a bit of fishing.
Anytime I weren't golfing, I was fishing.
I've not been fishing for years. In fact, I've not been fishing since I lost all my fishing gear. I say lost. I didn't really lose it. It was sort of stolen. Yeah. It's a bit of a weird situation. So it was, I don't know, 2007, yeah, 2007, I think. And I basically had an accident in my car. I rolled my car into a ditch. All my fishing gear and everything else was in the boot at the time. And I mean, the car was a complete write-off. I flipped it and rolled it at 70 mile an hour into a ditch. I walked away without a scratch. But where the ditch it had landed in apparently was private property that belonged to a farmer that owned the field next to the ditch. So I'd been picked up by coppers, because obviously coppers get called out and stuff, and they gave me a lift back home and whatnot, and put all their police tape up and everything else around the car that was in the ditch. And then I got hold of my insurance people and said, like, this is where the car is. It's in a ditch. It's going to need pulling out of the ditch. It will need recovering. They said they would organise it all. I got a phone call back from later on the same day saying, well, someone's just turned up down there to recover your car, and there's no sign of your car. Like, are you sure you've given us the right place? And I was like, yeah, it's definitely what the information I've given you is 100% accurate. So I got a friend to give me a lift up to the place where I'd smashed the car up, and sure enough, there's no sign of the car. So a little while later, after not figuring out what was going on, I reported it to the police, and they were like, don't really know what's happened to it. It's a bit of a weird one. Turns out that the farmer that owned the field had hooked the car up to his tractor, dragged it off into his field, gone through my stuff in the car, found my address, and sent me a letter saying, you crashed your car into my ditch, you've damaged my ditch, it's going to cost me money to get the ditch fixed, pay me £2,500 or I'm keeping your car.
So you kind of let them keep the car.
So this was the thing. Like, I went down there to have a look and went through, and like I said, I wasn't really fussed about the car. It was an old Mark IV Escort. The car wasn't worth 200 quid, but all of my fishing gear and everything else was in the boot. And I got down there and checked the car, and none of the stuff that was supposed to be in the car was in the car, and he reckoned that that's how it was when I pulled it out of the ditch. Reported it to the police. The police said the same thing. You know, he's pulled it out of the ditch for you. He probably shouldn't have, but it is private property, so he's technically recovered the car from you. You know, if he's saying there's damage to his, you know, there's damage to his thing, that's for you to sort out with your insurance. It's a civil matter. I said, but no, it's the criminal matter of the fact that all my stuff's been stolen out of the car. And he was like, well, your car was in a ditch. It had just been involved in an accident. You can't prove that the stuff didn't fall out. And you can't prove that nobody else came along and took the stuff out before he pulled the car, because he's saying he never took anything out. So by that stage, I just told him to keep the car. I was like, you know what? I wasn't really bothered about the car, but I was bothered about the stuff that was in it, and the stuff that's in it's missing now. So I tell you what, mate, keep the car.
Here's the key.
Yeah, just so yeah. So yeah, that kind of broke me, because I had a lot of money's worth of fishing gear in that car. So I reckon he had his monies, but I 100% it was him that took it. 100% it was.
Well, I had same sort of ish thing with all my fishing gear. I lived in Southampton in a shared house. Didn't have enough room in my room for it all, so I lived in one of the ground floor ones, and my window literally backed out onto the alleyway. It was a pathway, but like you had the fence just there, and then it sort of led up to a dead end, and you could then walk all the way down to the gate. So no one could see it. No, I left it all out there, locked it all up, and lo and behold, it all sort of went missing. Rather than, you know, undoing the bag and taking all the fishing rods out of it, they just cut the lock and took the lot.
Oh no.
You know, at least leaving me the holdall, they, you know, would have been something, but they cut the lock and took the lot.
Jesus.
You know, I know it's not much with a fishing bag, but put a lock on it, but I just felt that it was something.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, that was the deterrent for me. After losing all that, I couldn't afford to replace it all in one go. It would have taken me a while to replace it all piece by piece, and it was just kind of like, do you know what? Cut my losses. Which is a shame, because I really used to enjoy fishing.
I was pretty much the same after losing all of that lot. It was just like, you know what? I've just bought it all. I've pretty much just finished paying it all off, and I've lost it. So it's gone. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, my brother's quite big into his fishing, actually. Nice. For over the years, I've seen some of the monsters that he's caught. He's caught some amazing fish. And Nigel's been accumulating his stuff for a long time, though. Yeah, Nigel's giving me like hints and tips on fishing from like when I first started out, when I was a proper youngster. But I started out fishing in our local canal. So you fish horrible stuff out there, depending on what section you're in. You know, you get some nice little perch and stuff like that, but for the most part, when I first started out, we were fishing out the bottom of the canal for eels.
My first ever little bit of fishing was me with a net, some sort of fizzy sweets, throwing them into this pond that I had next to the school that was like filled with trolleys and stuff, catching stickleback.
See, that doesn't sound far off of what my local canal was like. You took chances on fishing in there. You quite often caught a shopping trolley or an old moped or something like that.
Well, we just found these fizzy sweets. The sticklebacks like swam up to them, probably because of the air bubbles coming off of them, and it was like, scoop them up quick.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you saying that actually. So you're saying about like fizzy sweets and stuff. I remember one of the first ever fishing tips that my brother gave me when I first started fishing was to mix in. Do you remember aniseed imperials?
Yeah.
You said about crushing up aniseed imperials and mixing that in with your ground bait.
All right.
Apparently, fish go mad for it, and it worked. One of the first tips I ever remember getting from my brother about fishing was mixing up aniseed imperials into my ground bait. Yeah, crushing them up and mixing them in. Apparently, they go mental for it, and it works.
Well, it's stored. I've got it, but what I'll do with it.
Yeah, I never forget stuff like that. Little hints and tips like that, I never forget.
Well, doesn't look like James is making it.
Well, you know what? I was just thinking the same thing. I think he'd have been here by now if he was coming, wouldn't you?
Would have hoped so.
Yeah. It's getting close to that time now anyway, isn't it? 20 to 11 now.
Yeah.
You're starting to look like you're getting sleepier and sleepier by the second. I've been out in the sun all day, so I'm feeling kind of the same.
I don't do well with heat. Let's just put it that way. Over 15 degrees, I don't do well.
See, I can deal with the heat. It's being out in the direct sunlight that does me in. I kind of feel like I've shriveled today. I mean, all the skin on my head and my face feels really tight. So it will go brown eventually. I mean, it won't. It's not burnt or anything. And I've spent time under the sun in hotter countries than this, obviously. But yeah, it's just yeah, being in that direct sunlight all day just makes you tired. So yeah, I think it's about time to. I don't think we're going to get James. So
no, unfortunately,
I reckon we're down to 2 viewers now, which I think is Scott and Tyler. So I think probably time to call it a night. You look like you could do with an early one.
Right, early, yeah.
It's not really an early one for you, is it? No.
Hey.
Cool. All right then. Well, for those that are left in the chat, thank you very much as always. Make sure if you haven't already, like the stream before it disappears. Tom, we'll see you either Monday
in 2 weeks'
or Tuesday.
time. Yeah, we'll see in 2 weeks' time, but could be the Monday.
Could be the Tuesday. We'll see. Thanks everyone again. Have a wonderful what's left of the evening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
We'll
Take care, everyone.
Soon. Thanks again. Bye.
Bye. Bye.